welcome back to my channel. I just want to provide an update since I last spoke. So I had my booster Pfizer jab yesterday at about 10:15 in the back garden because I'm OCD. It went fine. I felt it go in this time, but I think that's because it was quite cold, so I felt a needle, but it only lasts like 2 seconds, so. In terms of side effects, not too bad. I've got an achy arm. It's not quite as bad as last time. After the second one, it literally felt like someone had punched me in the arm, and it was like really, really painful, and also I had the shivers, and felt really crap. So it's not so bad this time. It's kind of like in between the first and the second one, because the first one, I didn't have any side effects at all. As I say, the second one, it was like a really bad achy arm, and just felt not great for about a day and a half afterwards. This time, not as bad as last time. I have an achy arm, but it's not as bad as what it was last time. It's nowhere near as bad as it was last time. I can raise my arm up like that without it like hurting. Whereas last time, if I did that, it would have been like, oh. Whereas this time, it's not too bad. I can feel it in my arm though, and it's annoying and niggling, but it's not as bad as last time. I do feel rather tired, but yeah, so I've decided I'm not going out today, so I just don't have the energy, and it's just too much effort. Because I find going out really stressful anyway. I normally go out every day, I force myself because I need the exercise, and it's really stressful and I hate it. I always just go around the same area and I just like go for a run and brisk walk. And I always feel guilty when I don't. It's very rare when I don't go out at all, but I don't know. I just feel like it's not going to harm just one day, and it's just too much today. And the weather's not great anyway. It's not like it's that inviting outside, and I just feel rather tired, and my arm's a bit achy, so yeah. But other than that, it's fine. So compared to my dad, he had like really bad side effects after the third. It's funny, but he didn't have any side effects after his first two at all, and then he had really bad side effects after the third, when he even lost his appetite, and it felt really rough the day afterwards. So I'm lucky. I don't really feel near as bad as that. I just feel rather tired and achy. That's about it. So I'm lucky. Because I was a bit concerned in case the third would be worse than the second, because I was like thinking, would it get like even worse? Because the first one I didn't have any side effects, and after the second my arm felt like someone had punched it. Again, I was thinking, well, if that's how the second was, what if the third is like magnified, or if it gets worse and it's increasingly bad? So I guess one, as I say, is sort of intermediate, sort of worse than the first, but not as bad as the second. I don't know how it is. It must just depend. So because I've had the Pfizer all 3 times. So, but yeah, I'm just relieved it's over. And obviously it takes about a week or 2 for the full immunity to come back. Obviously with this Omicron variant that's spreading like wildfire, that's very concerning. It makes me feel extra nervous when I'm out and about, even though obviously I know that being outside you're obviously safer, and it's not like I'm in contact with anyone because I'm avoiding people like the plague, but obviously it does make me feel rather nervous when I'm out and about, because I'm always like worried about people coming too close, and that's an element of stress, because it means I can't really enjoy being out because I'm always having to look out for people. And I just feel it's too much for today when I'm feeling tired and a bit blah with after the vaccine. I just can't be asked to go out today. So that's why I've decided I can't be asked to go out. Try and make up for it tomorrow. Hopefully the weather will be a bit nicer. I don't know what's going to happen going forwards. That's a bit disconcerting. Like they say, what am I saying? What I'm saying is, I don't know what's going to happen going forwards with this whole pandemic, like whether or not we're going to have to be vaccinated every autumn or every 6 months or whatever. When I googled it, it said that for most people they're not going to vaccinate everyone every 6 months. But with my OCD, I'm like, shit, like that's not good, because like with my OCD and with the way my brain works, knowing that immunity runs out every 6 months kind of mean, and if this disease is still here, I'm not going to want to go anywhere. So I'm not quite sure if they're going to accommodate people with OCD. I hope they will, because OCD is a really debilitating disability, and if a vaccine helps you able to go out, then they should include people with OCD and the people who get it regularly, because OCD is like, it's kind of a mental illness, so they should treat it with due gravity. And yeah, and if a person with OCD literally depends on vaccination to even have some degree of normalcy in their life, and let's face it, yeah, so I do feel that they should include people with OCD and severe mental disabilities like autism as well. Obviously it won't apply for all autistic people, but for autistic people who are really disabled by their autism and who need vaccination to live normally, then, and if this disease doesn't disappear, then if they're not going to do it for the whole population, then I think they should include autistic people and people with OCD in those who are vaccinated on the NHS every year, because I hope so, because otherwise I'm going to be housebound for the rest of my life, which would not be good. So, and if this disease doesn't go, I mean, obviously if this disease really does get milder and becomes like a common cold, like actually, and it's no longer a big deal, then that'll be great, and then I won't need a vaccine. But if the disease is still an unknown quantity, and yeah, then my dad, when I spoke to my dad about it though, he seemed to think that I would be included, and he said he'd basically fight my corner if they said no, because they know how disabled I am, and they know that I'm really vulnerable and that I need vaccination to actually live normally. Like, yeah. So at the moment with, and I don't know how this is, let me know if any of you are watching with OCD, because it's never really talked about in the news or anything like that. I feel like people with OCD are excluded, like we're never talked about. If any of you are watching who have OCD, like contamination OCD, I mean, because obviously OCD affects people in different ways. Not all people with OCD have contamination OCD. My OCD is primarily contamination based. Some checking, but checking OCD doesn't affect me as much. It's mainly contamination based. Yeah, sorry, I'm really tired. That's why I might not be speaking coherently. Trying my best. Yeah, for people with contamination OCD, I feel they're not given enough coverage on TV or on general media, because I sort of feel like at the moment, surely with this whole pandemic, people who have contamination OCD, I mean, it's affecting me like really badly, because obviously like I've been housebound, like literally, I mean, I go out for my walk, but I avoid people like the plague, and I walk down the same area. I mean, it's walking the same route every day. For most people that would be like being in a prison. I suppose it is almost like being in prison, because literally like I can't deviate from that walk, and it's really restrictive, and I can't go in any shops, and I can't literally do anything really outside of the home other than going on a really narrow walk. So effectively I am housebound. I mean, the walk doesn't really count, because it's not like I can really go anywhere, and I'm only out for like most an hour a day, so, and it's not like I can really go anywhere. I can't go in any shops, I can't go on any transport, I can't travel, I can't go uptown, I can't do anything. I haven't seen anyone face to face since the whole pandemic started, because most is so severe. I can't even see anyone in a garden face to face, because most is so severe. Any chance of a risk of contamination, it's not happening. So and the thing is, if a vaccination was 100% effective, like I don't know, like EMMR or something like that, obviously no vaccination is 100% effective, but you know what I mean, like almost 100%, and giving actual sterilising immunity, where you know that once you've been vaccinated, you're very, very unlikely to catch it, like sort of thing. That would be more reassuring, because the way my OCD works, if there's any doubt, it's like, well, there's still a risk, and obviously people who've been vaccinated can still catch COVID. Obviously, not as badly, and the risk of ending up with real symptoms and having it severe is massively reduced. But I know many people who've caught COVID after being vaccinated, and it's still not nice, and they have to isolate, and and that's something that would make me really mentally unwell. I've got enough to handle already without having a disease to deal with of an unknown quantity. I mean, I'm really bad at like minor illnesses like colds and things like that. Like, I don't get colds that often, and I've got a good immune system. Obviously that's no. People always say, oh yeah, you've got a good immune system, you shouldn't worry. But obviously OCD doesn't work like that, But I don't often get sick. Obviously, I haven't seen anyone for a really long time now. So, but before COVID, when I was still seeing people, I didn't get ill that often. But even like a mild cold or something like that, even though it was only mild or whatever, I would still be like basically not able to go out and stuff, and I'd be having panic attacks and my anxiety would be ratcheted up like so much, because it's like a change in my bodily state, and a change in my bodily state is scary, and because I'm already like anxious all the time, so obviously anything that affects my bodily state is going to make my anxiety even higher, and I can't deal. So you know what I mean. So with a disease such as COVID, I don't know what that's like. I haven't got any reference point. And unlike with a cold, where you can still go out if you want to, and you can still go near other people. Obviously, when I have colds, I'm always like really worried about contaminating other people, because part of my OCD also involves not wanting to contaminate other people. Obviously, I'm most worried about contaminating myself, but I also get OCD around contaminating other people because I would feel guilty. But when trying to speak. At least with like a cold or like a normal illness, you can still, there's not like a societal restriction that says you have to blanket ban on like literally going near anyone. And with COVID, you have to isolate, like it's like almost like you have leprosy, like it's like a pariah disease. It's a notifiable disease. You have to isolate, and that is terrifying for me. So I mean, obviously I am effectively in isolation all the time at the moment, but there's a difference though between being in isolation when you've chosen to and being in enforced isolation, and also there's a difference of being in isolation when you're basically well and being in isolation where you're feeling unwell and you might want reassurance from other people, and being completely not being able to do that, like it's actually almost illegal to do that. That really messes my brain and would trigger panic attacks. So that's one of the main reasons why I cannot afford to get COVID, because I don't know it will really mess up my mental health, which is already at a low ebb at the best of times, and I have to work really hard all the time to try and stay mentally level. But any changes I'm not good at it. That's what I mean. So what I'm trying to say is I don't know what's going to happen going forward, and obviously at the moment with this... Actually, I'm going to move on to video number 2 now, because I'm worried this video is going to run out of me. So moving on to video number 2 now.